Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 49 of the D.M.C podcast with your hosts today, a direct descendant of the Mona Lisa. Yes, it's me, Adam Rigby,
Yes, Adam.
and the only man to ever smell what The Rock was cooking. My bro, Tolvaga Ciolo, brother!
Yeah, Talapalava.
Yes! How's it?
Great, great, bro. Thank you. Thank you for asking. You got a cup of tea. I'm ready to chat. The
Oh,
DMC is on, baby.
cup of tea. We are rolling this deep into the evening. What I say deep into the evening, I mean adult evening, which is approximately 8:30 p.m., which in adult speak is about midnight. So all the chores are done. Those that should be in bed are in bed, and we are
Are in
ready
bed.
to share time with each other and, of course, with you, our beloved people. I just want to start off, bro, by saying episode 48 was such an awesome chat, such a deep and meaningful discussion between the both of us, and obviously some deep insights into what I've personally been going through. I just want to
Mm.
reach out and say, thank you to you for just the time it's taken to come together and to be here and to listen, but also to the wonderful feedback we received and to the people that reached out to us. So, and myself in particular. So, thank you so much for your support personally and professionally, for listening to the DMC podcast, for vibing what we are doing or trying to achieve. This has really always been about just coming together, talking, and seeing what happens out of a good old fashioned chat and
100%, bro.
removing
Love
and
that.
removing the stigma and the fear and just speaking your mind or your heart. So yeah,
Mhm.
thanks so much, fam, for listening, for loving. If you haven't just subscribed yet, it's an awesome opportunity to do that if you can. You know, we're on Spotify, we're on all the channels, we're on YouTube if you want to see, well, his pretty face and May.
Oh,
I had to do a quick wardrobe
my
change,
man.
fam. Last week I was in a black t-shirt and I just got outdone. My bro turned up in styles in the shirt. He's rocking the chain and the tee tonight. Got the hair just zhushed. I've been out playing golf today and I had cap hair. So I had to readdress the hair situation
It's bring it. You
and
look good, brother.
put a nice sweater on.
Yeah, nice. A sweater for our adults 8:30 onwards
For
time.
an adult 8:30 entertainment chat skis. Chat skis. But bro, like big changes obviously kicking into this podcast. We really wanted to talk about uh share the journey of self-discovery. And obviously, yourself, from your own personal perspective, you have uplifted something that you did and did at an exceptional level, something that you were known for, something that you were great at, and you've moved into something new and what can be completely terrifying. Changing
Mm.
direction, taking some bold new steps into something new. So, I really want to start and open up with that in the journey of self discovery. where do you where do you start? Where do you first look in order to
Where do we
find
start?
yourself?
It's, bro, that is a question for anyone is just like, I don't know. Because there's so much of your life where you think you know yourself, or others tell you who you might be or what you should be. And it's really hard to pinpoint who you internally, this construct of you, is. But I think, talking about that massive change, bro, self discovery, I've found for me has been a process of facing adversity and challenge, to figure out like what I do in those moments and what shows up for me. And when the chips are on the line, cards on the table, who shows up to that? Who comes through? And for me, um, transitioning from being like at Les Mills, bro, like you said, national group fitness manager. I was a group fitness manager for a club for a long time. Presenter, doing all kinds of wonderful things, growing and developing like a whole cohort a whole generation of new instructors that have come through, and God bless, they've gone right to the top now, and leading the programs, creative, presenting, coaching, um, shaping the way that the business goes, of course, here in Aotearoa. And, hopefully there's been some impact internationally as well. So to go from that and then suddenly go, actually, at the end of that end point of my career with Les Mills, like, where do I go from here? It was kind of locked in, bro.
Yeah.
And like, have you had moments like that, dude, where you're in your lane and you're like, this could be me for like the rest of my foreseeable future.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're in till you're not, right? And it can take a moment, it can take a conversation, it can take an event that leads you to that, or you can come to a decision yourself. And for me, those decisions have always been driven by: Am I learning? Am I
Mm,
growing? Am I motivated to do that? Am I in the right environment? And do the people around me generally care about me? And because when you're in a work environment, you want to know that you're working hard for something, not
yeah,
necessarily someone, but there's a lot of teamwork in what we do or what we have done. And that's great, working for each other. But I always go back to, you've always got to follow your heart and do what's best for you. And when you do
mm,
that, you know that everybody else around you benefits from that. you know
yeah,
so that for me has been the guiding light. Am I learning, am I growing? And if the answer is no, then whoa, man, you're going to pump the brakes and
yeah,
start to really think about it, but it's nothing's permanent, and I think that's the thing. Nothing lasts forever. And
nah, but it's scary though, bro.
oh dude, man,
When
it's
you
the
say that, like,
worst.
it's
It's the worst.
because when you say that too, bro, it's like nothing lasts forever. Change is the constant, right? Like, these are great sayings and slogans, and
Mm.
we understand that on a more intellectual or conscious level. But when the rubber hits the road, bro, and changes upon you, whether it's you changing or changes forced upon you, then it can get real. And so, like, in that moment where we're just talking about, where you think you're locked in, right? Like, I was like, I'm Lesville's for life, baby. Like, I'm going to continue to grow and develop and shape this company, the people that I'm with, myself. Um, and then suddenly things don't line up for you anymore, or you can see that this is going in a direction that it needs to go, but you don't see yourself in that direction. Then that can be really tough. And I think it was more tough, bro, to be honest with you. You'll get this. And anyone who's listening who's been in a company that they truly aligned with the purpose, is that if your personal values and purpose almost become entwined with the company's purpose, value, and what it's out to do, like, make a fitter planet, improve the lives of New Zealanders through life-changing group fitness experiences, which was me. I was like, yo, to separate myself was quite a painful process. And yet it needed to happen, right? The right thing to do for me at that time was to make a choice about where I wanted to go for my next step in my career. And yeah, that was kind of like a 3-year process, dude. Like, you kind of saw me go through a bit of iterations. And if, any of you listening have seen my Instagram, go up, down, change your name to Benjamin, come back to Tausiolo. Um, Self-discovery as a theme is such a beautiful topic. It's so like, it's so relevant to that journey over the last kind of 3 years. Um, like, for one example, during 2020, there was a lot going on. The world was in a really tough place. COVID had rolled through. George Floyd had happened. Black Lives Matter kicked off. A lot of the conscious thought from businesses and individuals were questioning, the equality and the racial disparity and racism across the globe, right? And doing all kinds of actions to get things moving in the right direction. So we had a time where no one really knew what was going on. The future was a little uncertain. And certainly for me, some things happened during that year where I was like, yo, where do I stand, in the business? Where do we want to go? Where do I want to go? And yeah, some things happened, bro, where I chose to follow a particular path. And it ultimately meant that that was on the pathway out of the business. I have no regrets though, bro. To be honest with you, I'd do it again in a heartbeat because I supported where I needed to support. And that journey led me on the journey to where I am today. 3 years later,
That's a that
five
that that's a
Instagram
biggie.
handles later.
Yeah, that look, that's a biggie in recognition of a lot of experiences that can be tough at the time and can produce a significant amount of trauma to happen for a reason or serve a purpose. And depending on what your belief system is, whether you believe in a higher energy or something driving the universe in terms of energy and saying that these things are here, hard things are there to to assist me in building resilience and preparing me for what is next. And I think for you too, bro, like how how was it stepping away from something you were so well known for in an organization that you were loved and respected, right? And then, I would imagine it's been a long time since I've moved roles, but walking into an office for the first time and almost feeling as though you're starting from ground zero again,
Brother,
how do you pick up the pieces from being this charismatic, caring guy to no one knows you, with the skills that you transferred from, like, for instance, being an instructor, with the skills that you had to utilize, where you pulled that from your other life into your new life. But man, it's big, starting
mm,
again. And that's what it was,
it
starting
was it
again.
was starting again. And so, number one, the first thing that takes a hit is your kind of sense of self. You
Mm.
see your identity as this leader and this person of influence in a company that you desperately loved. That was me. So I had to rediscover who I was outside of the organization, outside of the um, channels and avenues that I had influence in and recognition in. So when you talk about like well respected and loved, it was a beautiful thing, and I love my people. And I saw so many beautiful stories of, instructors coming through, people who never thought they would ever be on stage. Lovely New Lynn crew, Julie C.R., Jonah out there. Like, there's so many beautiful people, Lana Aiken, like all of these wonderful people in the start of my journey, who have made such an impact in their own lives and other people's lives. And even in the business, like, you see Tash, Vili, Karan, they're like right at the top of LMI now. Minor, they came through, and I had the wonderful opportunity to help boost these guys up. So when it came for my time to kind of question, like, am I on this journey? Where am I at? And I had to leave and pivot. That's probably why, like, I had so many, changes. I wasn't sure of even how to approach this. To show up to work, for those 2 years before I moved to One New Zealand, I changed my name to Benjamin. And so that was an attempt for me to redefine and re-show up in a different way using my middle name, to lead in a managerial or kind of, put a brave face on, bro, and like show up my best and learn a different skill set on that continuing journey that I talked about that ultimately led to my new role at a different organization at One New Zealand. And so, circling back to your question around how was it like going from somewhere where you were well known, loved, and respected on the journey through that to where no one really knows you. It's tough on the ego, brother. It's tough on the ego, like you've gone and built a career over 20 years. Uh, that's how long I taught for, right? 20 years of teaching, 12 years in management. Um, it is really tough. And so I've always been someone who's okay with that though. Like, I can take the hits. I almost did that myself with the Instagram. I shut it down. I actually closed it off completely. Like, I had a whole bunch of like people following me from that Les Mills life and journey. Shut it off. I went 6 months with no Instagram, came back as Benjamin Ciolo, built it up a little bit again, shut it off again as I was kind of going through my iterations of self-discovery. And then when I went through the journey of applying for different roles, which is scary, bro, and
Yeah,
no
of course
doubt
it
you'll
is.
have some questions around that. But when I showed up in this new role, I could be me completely. And I think that was the full circle moment for me, is like, return back to me, drop your ego. God bless, love the journey that you've had, but it's time to step and love it for what it was. It's time to step into a new chapter and start at the bottom. And it's not the bottom,
Started
like the
from the
role is
bottom,
actually,
now we're here. Bro,
but start building in a from, an unfamiliar place, right?
I think it's all fun and games until you actually have to produce a CV.
Dude,
then you're
writing a
like,
CV,
what? Oh,
brother.
big words. And then, you're kind of having to redefine or reshape and think about what, deeply, what are my skill sets? What are the things I bring to the table? Let's not ask just ChatGPT to figure this out for me. Let's have a deep search, and I think being open and honest about the things that make you great is a 1% a skill. And 99% of people just cannot do it because of, could be tall poppy syndrome, but we're just not great at tooting our own trumpet, are we? Or thinking
No,
deeply about ourselves, or having a high opinion about ourselves or our skill sets, all the things that make us great. Or we're basing the things that we think make us great on what other people say, or the environment that we are
yeah.
in is another big thing.
You know,
So
when you mentioned ChatGPT, I think actually using that tool was great, bro, for me.
nice.
And I would recommend people do it because of the reasons you've just said
Mm,
around tooting your own horn, identifying those strengths that you have without it coming across as like, being super egotistical or self-centered.
mm,
I think that's maybe it's a Kiwi thing. I'm not too sure, bro, but like it's certainly, I found using ChatGPT and write down the things that I've done. Like, I love doing this type of, working with groups. I love coming up with unique solutions to unique problems. I love facilitating and creating, great experiences with a wide range of people. You know, blight down all of those and then ask it to like pull out like the skill sets that would be relevant for a CV. That's kind of step one, and it will populate the list of things that you have, bullet point it. It is very AI like though. So the next step, and this is the beautiful step. I'm very fortunate for my amazing, gorgeous wife. Like I could type up the draft in my own words based on what had the ideas that had populated from Chat GPT, and then having her bounce ideas back off me and give me feedback.
mm.
Does it read well? Does it make sense? Does it from the perspective of a prospective employer? Wow, that's crazy. Um, does it read as someone who is actively engaged in the business and as someone who could bring those skills alive?
Mm.
Um, so yeah, man, like ChatGPT, I know it gets kind of a good rap and it gets bad rap, and there's kind of all the things in between. But if you use the tool for the right thing, like ideation or expanding upon bullet points and ideas as a
Expansion and
draft or as a
articulation is a
starting
great
point.
one, eh? Yeah.
Exactly, bro. Because it's hard to sit there and just like dream up words, particularly if you're not a wordsmith. It can be very difficult to actually extract and be direct about the skill sets or anything that you have, right?
Yeah, and I think you're right. Even bullet point it, you could do that. Things that are great about me, skills I have, throw into chat GP and say, right. Write a descriptive letter about me and my skills, highlighting my skills. And
And you can get like really specific too. Put it in
yeah,
a like write it in the style of a CV. And then you can ask follow-up prompts and go, actually, this is a little too formal. Can you make it add some more colloquial? Or it's reading a little stilted. Can you smooth out the language or add words? Or like I find that the follow-up questions are really fascinating
yeah.
because that's where you start to get the gold.
Or you could write, in the words of Samuel L. Jackson,
Hell
and
yeah.
see what happens. Because do you know what? Some organizations They want to change the game, but they hire the same. So why not? I'm a big fan of tacking, zigging when everybody else zags, and a curriculum vitae written in the style of Samuel L. Jackson could be the one that sets you apart from the pack. It could also get you arrested potentially or a court order put against you, but it could be a game changer. I mean,
You know,
all jokes
yeah.
aside, bro. All jokes aside, um, it's hard, like shifting gears, and we know that we go through life, and our gearbox is not one like a car. We have multiple levels and multiple gears that we can shift up and shift down, and sometimes shift across if we need to. But also, neutral's okay because neutral isn't going backwards.
Mm,
But finding levels and gears and just getting to where you think the edge is and realizing, appreciating that you can utilize the skills that you have amassed over a long period of time and push them towards something new, because that's what we are, right? We are discoverers, we are entrepreneurs, we are creators, and everybody, I think, has that in them. It just has to be a decision to shift, to uplift, to move. And again, sometimes that decision is made for us, but it's nothing that personally, I've had moving from roles where I just had a position that I just didn't love, and I went for the wrong reasons, income, and that's never going to end well. So, moving, and then for me, the thing that I actually did in moving roles, and for you too, you have all these skills and you wear them. We talked about it like a suit of armor as sorts, and then you start to progress into the next role, or think about the next role. And I was always, what are the things that you really loved about the role that you had versus what are the things that you did not like, or what are the things that you are not prepared to compromise as you look towards a move or a new role. And
yeah,
that becomes critical, right? Because that's your wins and losses effectively. So
that's it.
yeah, and it can be quite liberating too, to realize, that I've stepped away from all of this, and yes, I'm not prepared to put up with this anymore, or I think that there's far more for me in the win column than the loss column, and that may give you confidence just to push through into the next step. Um,
That's actually a huge tool, dude. Like I'm just gonna let's just zone in on this particular point because I was talking to a friend of mine before, talking about green ticks and red crosses, which is the same as what you're talking about.
yep,
Which kind of lends itself to that, if the pain of staying is not greater than the pain of change, then you'll stay, right? Like, and the green ticks might be I get a lot of autonomy. It's invigorating work that I get to do. I get stimulated mentally. There's a great network of people I get to work with. And on the downside of the column, it might be I'm no longer learning. I'm not feeling inspired. I've done the same thing over and over. And when you kind of like look at the list and you're like, actually, there's a lot to be grateful for here. I'm actually cool. There's just a few things that I need to switch in my life. Maybe I create a little more secure boundaries around some of the areas that are pressing onto me right now. Maybe it's emotional drama. You can remove yourself from that, or maybe your time was taken up a little bit too much. So you can put a border around the time that you spend and, make it aware to people around you like, hey, I'm unavailable at this time. But for me, like in this specific example, it became that values were in the red cross. And that's a really, like, it's one thing on the list, but man, does it hold weight. That's a big thing. And so for me, in particular, for me personally, and so when the values aren't aligned, then that's when I was like feeling that my purpose was not in the right place. And ultimately, I felt distant or separated from achieving or working towards the vision that I thought I was. And so that tool itself, the ticks and the crosses or the wins and the losses, that's a really important exercise. And what you'll find out is like, there are some important things. Is like, maybe I've got a mortgage and I get a good salary. And I love my family and friends. And so it's like, actually, dude, I'm going to grind it out. I'll find ways to enjoy this job. That is a limiting belief to some degree, right? Because the burnout will start to kick in and then you become really unhappy at work. So I would say that's like a short to medium term strategy, but always be looking for the next step, brave step to find your purpose and passion. Or maybe I'll reframe that. Maybe not purpose and passion, but find a job that you're really good at in terms of skill set and then dive into that.
Bro, when it comes to matters of the heart and soul, you cannot half-ass it. You just cannot, because it is like a
Mm.
drop of poison in the pond. Do you know what I mean? Eventually, everything will start to shift in the direction of the poison and it will eat you up. You can't do things. And the recognition too that values change over life given circumstances and you can be in it to win it, in it for yourself, and you could be the lone ranger, but the moment that you might meet the love of your life, you bring children, people, humans into this world, you become a creator
100%, dude.
of creators. Shit changes real quick and your
Yeah.
values shift very fast. And that's okay too. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to. We've talked about circumstances or events being anchors, and that's the same thing. You don't have to be anchored to those. You can cast them and move into the next direction. Expect to change, expect to evolve. It's what we do as humans. It's how we got here, right? It's part of the growing up process, and accepting that it's okay to evolve. It's okay to have one day thought something was pretty cool and the other day just kind of because of your circumstances or things or things that have happened or your own personal belief system or those around you, your environment has changed the way you think, and that's okay. That's what makes it wonderful. Trying something new, doing something different, thinking a
Yeah.
different way, but still thinking is the big thing, eh? Still thinking.
That's it, bro. It's the evolution of values is really important. And they live right down deep in the center of your being, right? And things that you hold as valuable to you and the behaviors you want to see from those you love and from yourself may align with a different purpose, vision, or work that you are looking at. And I think that was a big thing for me as well, where I could see that all of the behaviors that I was expressing were coming out as forced, was as inauthentic, because the values and the things that I wanted to focus on in terms of being in that organization for Les Mills was slightly different. So I knew what to do. I knew how to do the tasks that were going to get the results, but it wasn't coming from the place of like pure love that it used to. And so when I applied for a few various roles, MSD, ACC, a few government roles. Thank goodness I kind of had an opportunity to spread my CV wide, because I was like, why not? If I'm going to start a new career, I might as well just go wide and see what happens. Through a mutual connection, I got an introduction to someone at One New Zealand through my wife, and then gave my CV, and then I had to do the interviews and show up and bring it. Starting at a much larger organization in telecommunications meant that I was like actually quite separate, which is an interesting topic. And the reason I'm bringing it up, bro, is that like my values are now to, centered on my family. I'm centered on like being present, loyalty, love, care, support, being someone who can create change, positive change, but the people closest to me. Now, that's not necessarily a passion job that I'm in now. Like going to One New Zealand wasn't my dream job. And what I'm noticing is that it's actually a healthier relationship because it wasn't my passion. And I kind of touched on it previously when you heard like me talk about like finding your passion in your job. I'm actually of the belief, after watching a couple of people speak on this topic, have your passions. My passions is like being creative, chatting with you, brother, starting a new podcast, music, like all of that beautiful stuff is still my passion. But I'm now using my skills in an area where I know my skill set's paying off big time. Like it's great to be in a place where I can use my interpersonal relationship, communication, lateral thinking, big picture thinking, because I'm an end-to-end product management, and keep that separation so that I do what I love and I have that, and I have work that's stimulating and that sustains my like mental, my learning, my experience, and yet it doesn't encroach on the things that I have deemed as super valuable to me. Um, and I think that's a really cool place to be for me. Whereas it's kind of all wrapped up together at Les Mills and like, which is a great thing, working for your purpose. But when things change, you can find yourself feeling misaligned, and your identity and who you are kind of starts to twirl up in it as well.
Well, I think having your job as a passion is actually quite a dangerous game, isn't it? Because there's so much
Mm.
at stake wrapped up in your profession where you are working to live, and then it changes the way that you see everything. It can dictate every action as well. And you and I have talked before about the the fortunate the fortunate nature of our relationship with fitness, and also the professional element is we do have so many things that we're passionate of outside of the gym. As great as it is to go in there and blow it up and meet people and inspire and lead and connect and do our core purpose of helping each other, it's great to step out and lean into other things. It's great to utilize some of those skills in the professional element. I have talked to that about that before, where you utilize things that I've learned in terms of connection, and open and honest interaction, passion, intensity, all of those things that you can bring elements of into your professional career, then you can bring elements of your professional career across. And of course, taking that concept on the chin too, passion can also be powerful if used correctly and embraced in the
Yes,
right
brother.
way, not abused.
I think there's probably people listening going, dudes, what do you want about? Like, I'm passionate about my role.
Don't hate on
You
us. We
like
love what we do.
you sad dudes talking about like don't find your passion. Let's
It's not what we're
caveat that,
saying.
brother.
It's not
Like,
what we're saying. Yeah, yeah,
it's
for
not what we're
sure.
saying. I think it's what we are talking about. Let's be really specific. Is like when passion has been overused, or it's your sole reason, or you've wrapped it so tightly within the organization that you become the organization, forgetting, going beyond and forgetting that the organization may change, move, evolve, your role might change. There's business decisions made every day. And so if your passion is directly linked to that organization, then it can be a little problematic, right? When it goes too far. By all means, be passionate. The reversal on that is if you own your own business or you own your own thing and you've been able to monetize it. My bro Jordan Young, we went to Tawa College together. He's got an Instagram handle and YouTube channel called Sneakonomics, right?
Shout out Sneakonomics.
So shout out Sneakonomics, my boy Jordan J Money. So I've been living in London for like over, I don't know, almost 15 years now. Always been passionate about like Jordans, classic A, Michael Jordan, Nike, Jordans, like he's always been on it. And so he's turned his passion for shoes and kicks and the Crips game like to another level. So he's got over 500,000 followers on TikTok, building his base on YouTube. He's been back in Aotearoa with his beautiful partner T, coming through, like doing interviews with Shea Fu, like with musicians, with big brands. And I'm like, dude, yo, see that passion? If you can make that work and it's on your own terms and you're doing your thing, hell yeah, all day. Just be careful if you're in an organization where you're not the sole owner, or you don't have any control over what that business might do. Keep your passion, if it aligns, great, but keep your passion your thing.
Ultimately, your passion is your power. So I challenge you, and it's great to love what you do. I mean, I love what I do across many levels. I dare any mofo to try and out passion me at anything. I just lean into everything, and
Bro,
sometimes
it ain't happening.
Yeah, yeah. It ain't happening. You come and second all day. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. But I'll go down swinging. Don't get me wrong. But but passion passion for me. I mean, peeps, if you want to do this, write down certainly things that you love, things that you are passionate about, and apply them. See this, slide them across into this is my life. These are things I won't compromise. It's kind of the circle of influence, circle of concern, right? But slide things into just a reality check for you. Things about my job that I love. What is my passion? Your passion should kind of overarch everything because that is the thing that lights you up, that gives you fire, that can get you out of bed in the morning. If it's a part of your job, it's not necessarily the job itself or the employer itself. Maybe it's a part of it that does that for you. Maybe that's a clue to unlocking your true potential, your true light, the power of your light, your superpower, by identifying that you're passionate about this one thing. And that might skew you off in a direction, or it might actually hype up the level of activity and care and concern or love that you have for the job that you're doing. But it might not be directly attributed to the job because it's not part of you, right? Your passion is way
Hell yeah,
different.
bro. Like, let's take a Les Mills example. Um, is that, you might be passionate about being an instructor. Like, I'm super passionate about being an instructor. Now that's cool. That might be the case that you are passionate about being an instructor. But what are the things that actually level up, zoom out a bit, that you love? What are those things that make you passionate? Is it the connection with the people? Is it your ability to navigate and, delegate a fitness workout, create an experience? Because those things aren't specific to being an instructor. Those are transferable skills. Your passion in those things lies beyond the brand, right? That's what we're saying is like, find the thing that makes you tick, that you're really good at, that makes you kind of go into the zone, your passion, and understand that it might not be the role or the business that has given you that passion. It's the things you do, and those things, and I'm a testament to it, bro, can be used in a different mahi, different role, different work situation.
And let me take the pressure off for you peeps out there, because this is, I believe, real. And we talk about this a lot. I talk about this a lot. I believe, firmly believe, that we are here to help each other, to grow, to be great, to learn, to connect, to love, right? Take that as a purpose and use whatever passion you have to fulfill that, to chase that. And we can do that through a number of ways. I connect my passion for helping people through implementing technology. you know, we can
Very
still
valid.
we
I'm
can still do it. We can still do it
I'm there
because
with you, brother.
I still firmly believe that there are people that need help, and so I can sit in a meeting. I can sit with people, and hand on heart, they know that I am engaged, that I care. Like, again, trying out passion me, and people have commented, and and thankfully they don't skew it the wrong way, but they know that I am there 100% committed to helping them. It's like, how can I help you? How can I help
Mm.
you? It's the thing we don't share enough. It's the thing that we don't ask enough. Use your passion to chase what I believe is our purpose, to help one another, and in doing so, you will find people to help you.
Yes, brother.
So, but bro, like, I coming from your job. And again, if we go right back to the start, known for something big, known for being someone, whether it's a personality, a light, a shining light in the room, a fire starter, an instigator, a motivator, a challenger, a change agent. Do you think that that can actually, in itself, although these are great things to highlight about someone, can that cause limiting beliefs? Because automatically you become wrapped in it, and everything else that's
100%.
great about you circling around the outside, you just don't see, or you kind of switch off to it. You lose tune. You cease to become in tune with what really makes you great.
Yep. Yep. That's certainly like that's part of my journey, man. Absolutely. So I was always a dynamic instructor on stage, and I went from instructing into group fitness management. I didn't come up through my previous employment, of which I worked at National Bank, and then I worked at Ogilvy Advertising, and I'd done a few hospo gigs while I was studying. But it wasn't through the route of like corporate that I came into Les Mills to be a group fitness manager, and then eventually national group fitness manager. It was through instructing. And so I did a lot of high level, big room, big event stuff. And so you get to like solidify your identity and your kind of like yourself as the smiling performance, excitement, energy guy, right? And so there's two parts to that. People see you as that kind of dimension, almost a little one dimensional. Then you start to see yourself as that, which is also one dimensional. And then you kind of over leverage your bias toward doing things that require that type of energy. And so the struggles that I had through my employment sometimes were people seeing me as manager, or that I was, leading the department in terms of its operational success, timetable strategy, recruitment strategy, making sure that we had, all the boring stuff too, the administration of our registration to reps, or to make sure everyone's first aid certified, or to make sure that all of our back office like processes were optimized. You're not really seen as that guy. And so there's a perception that you may not be good at it, or even for yourself, you may ignore that stuff and just try to do all the cool stuff because you're like, I don't want to do all the boring things. But what I found out was I'm actually, while you might see me on stage as this like exciting dude and big energy, I'm not that, for like 80% of my life. And my wife will attest to that as well. I'm actually quite a deep thinker. I'll sit there and ruminate on things. And I find that people missed that part of me a little bit, or had this perception that I was just out there kicking ass, taking names, and being like kind of arrogant, to be honest. But like they didn't see the deep work that I would do, or the doubts that I would have about myself, or the second guessing when it came to selection process for the national team or the squad. Am I making the right call on like, building a framework for instructor rates? Am I doing the right thing in terms of facilitating learning and development for our managers? All of these kind of fears came up, bro. But I realized that I did have that skill set, and actually it was my people skills and my ability to navigate relationships in that space that helped me to do all of the like more operational task activities.
It's very,
Because yes, they are numbers, but they have to make sense to people for it to land and for it to be uptaken and put into your everyday work life, right?
it's very movie-like in reference to the character, right? Because people see the end result, but they don't see the journey. They don't see the mahi that goes into being great
No,
a lot of the
no,
time. And
bro.
people don't fixate on the work. They don't. Their goal isn't the work. Their goal is the end. The end game is the picture at the end. The character, and it does those that are great at what they do a massive disservice. I think I know actually. The work that goes into to being great, to being the best. And it's okay to say you're the best at what you do if you've put the work in. A very, very interesting example, actually, for me especially. Like I love sport. I always have. Anything, if it's got a ball or a racket or an instrument or not, anything that I can challenge myself in or others in, I'm in for it. And particularly I love tennis and golf more recently. And I picked up the golf clubs again after playing. I used to play with my father-in-law many years ago because it was a great way for us to bond, right? Because we didn't have much in common, but to go and spend some time with him, for him to get to know me, and the fact that I was now the caretaker of his daughter, and also for me to get to know him and more about what made him tick, so that years from then we could talk about him, and I knew him, and I actually got the opportunity to do his usually eulogy. May rest in peace.
Mm.
But I've done that same thing for. I picked up the golf clubs again to get to know my potential future son-in-law, my daughter. Was lucky to meet a great guy who plays golf, and the same thing. We didn't have much to talk about, so I thought, let's pick up the sticks and go play golf.
Awesome.
But part of that story, where I'm getting to eventually, I'll get their team. Just I'm like that diesel. I'm not. I'm like that diesel. I'll get there. Um, Part of the story is, being competitive and putting yourself under a lot of pressure to be good and to be great sometimes can lead you to boil over moments, right? When you don't hit a great shot or the things don't quite go your way. But a big change up, a big level up for me in those situations, and it could be even, you could relate it to a career or a move. In my mind, I had no right to be angry or frustrated about the things I couldn't do when essentially I hadn't done the work to do them well enough or great
Mm.
or be great at it. Because it's something that takes time. Anything takes time, the 10,000 hours. Anything takes time to be great at it. And while people will know there may be one hole, one shot that is great, to be great at something, you need to do it consistently. And I wasn't. I couldn't do it consistently. So I found joy in all of the moments in between. But the big thing again for me was I have no right to be frustrated or angry at myself when I have not done the work to be great.
Mm. Yeah.
To be great. And it changed everything. And I think for people listening, if they're in a situation, a career or a job, and you're looking at that changing, have you done everything you can do, exhausted every opportunity within that role to evolve, to shift, to change, to upgrade? Have you presented this to your peers? Have you presented it to management? Have you talked to your boss? Have you talked to those around you that you want to change, you want to shift, you want to uplift, you think there's something more for you? And has it gone nowhere? Maybe that's a big key. If you have done everything possible, if you haven't, then why aren't you trying? Maybe it's the other way. Maybe you're just not into it. So it's kind of
Mm.
scalable, right?
It is. Yeah. That's a really good point, bro. I think when you break it down that, like we have an innate, some of us, a lot of us probably have an innate thing where we want to be great immediately. And then we'll critique ourselves for not being great immediately. Like you said, right? Like there has to be some time that you put in to graft your way to some form of mastery. And in that moment, you can feel the fulfillment and the excitement of the thing that you're doing. Like for me, for running, bro, like, last year, similar story to you in your golf, I kicked off running every single day throughout the months of November, December, and Jan. Great idea, bad execution, because I did 1K a day with my daughter. She kind of like tapped out after a month because she's like, I'm bored, dad. And I was like, yeah, fair enough. I'm doing it every day. Moved to 2K, 3K, 4K in like the space of about a month. And suddenly my Achilles was like crying out to me. And I couldn't, and I was wondering why, like, my body was breaking down on me, is going through like a poor me moment. And I was like, geez, dude, okay, number one, growth isn't linear or exponential, which is what you were trying to do. It's like up, down, round and around. You need to recover. Come on, man. Like your ego's getting in the way again. Also, my shoes were trash. They were terrible, too skinny, too soft, and putting me out. So now, like today, I just ran, I was telling you before, bro, I did my first 11.5K, ran really well, smooth and steady. I'd had rest days in between. I only ran like twice this week. Much smarter,
Not
much
wearing
better,
Doc
and
Martens.
enjoying running way more. Like it's not that you don't like running, it's just you're not good at it yet. And so that was a good lesson to learn.
Well, I always
Um,
laugh, because I'm a bike rider. I love bike riding, and it's so much more than just physical intensity for me. But you're riding around the bays in a sunny day, and you see people running, and no one looks happy.
no one
Like,
looks happy,
I
bro.
see very
It's
few happy runners. It's like
but that's
maybe
good.
just just I mean, how fortunate are you to run? I I have an injury, which means that, I mean, I loved running. I used to run a lot, and then I ground myself into into pulp and had a massive blowout with an injury that meant I had to stop running. And I do miss it, but I just changed the goalpost, right? And I shifted that
Yeah.
passion into cycling, which I was an avid cyclist anyway, so it was a pretty easy shift. So maybe some of it's just jealousy. I want to be unhappy. I want to be unhappy running again. I want to be
Yeah.
sore. But me, if I,
But
if I was running, I'm like, you know what? I feel like running again. 12 Ks. Can't walk for 2 days
yeah,
afterwards.
you'll go for like a 12K or a
Yeah.
15K, right?
I'm like,
Immediately.
I'm like,
Yeah.
bro. I'm like, bro. My wife
Look
is
at
a
these
runner.
see.
My wife is a runner.
Mm,
She loves it. She loves long distance running and to get out there and to challenge yourself, especially in summer runner. But we've had instances where she's gone, oh, do you want to come for a run? Well, oh, yeah. Or I'll pipe up and say, oh, I'll go for a run. She's very surprised. And then we just go
yeah.
out and we run slow together, which is amazing.
Yes, brother.
Spending a lot of
Yeah.
time together. I'm not focused on, I have to run this is my benchmark. I have to hit my Ks at this. It becomes so much more. So I think
No.
for anybody out there, take the pressure off that old zone two, just relax and cruise and enjoy and take a look around because how blessed do you be able to move and to be able to do that when a lot of people can't. But
Yeah, facts, bro. Absolutely.
hats off to
Like,
you to becoming running guy.
oh, dude, not built for it. Like I'm short, I'm thick, like got the Samoan legs going. It's gonna be good. Like I can really feel a shift in me, like it's particularly stopping teaching, moving away from group fitness and doing my own training. And part of that self-discovery again, brother. Like, it's not that you don't like it, you're just not good at it yet. So I'm taking my time. Lana King is awesome, bro. Like, I've been hitting her up and she gives me props on Strava and like I see her doing her mahi up in Matapoti, which is cool. So it's
You
good
need
to
your
have like
challenge, buddy.
friends.
I think it's
Yeah,
great to
bro. Keeping
pair
you
off and
like
keeping you honest, keeping it
accountable.
real, but also saying, man, good on you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Someone just to
I
say,
love
hey,
it.
that's great, and backing up, because it is hard work. Being consistent is the hardest thing. Showing up
Mm,
after day, or having breaks, or throwing yourself out there, throwing your goals out there, and saying, oh, I'm going to do an X, I'm going to do this event is really hard, is really difficult. So having someone that's got your back is pretty cool. That's what's great about going to the gym, eh?
Andy.
It's like was it shooting fish in a barrel? Everybody's got your back.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? You're going to find a high five somewhere in there, or someone loves what you're doing. So that's amazing. I do love that about the place actually, and especially the
Bro,
instance where I was going through the issues in a bit off. There was days where I turned up and just things got better because people were genuinely engaged and passionate about just being there, happy to be there, and that rubs off on you, I think. So environment,
Andy,
passion.
bro, sorry, bro. I was just excited when you said that because that's the thing I think was so powerful about, being in the Lesmos gyms and like working in that kind of environment was super dynamic, and you got that kind of buzz because you'd walk into the club and it's like on, like time to go. I love taking a friend of mine, Ed Mika. We go to Lesmos and we'll do like a conquer class or a ceremony, and he's like, man, this is crazy, like. And I'm like, yeah, bro, like this is what we do, When I say we, this is what I used to do, but this is what we can do and like come in and smash it out. That kind of like is a little segue though, bro, because I love that energy. But, you know, if we circle back to the workplace and it's like, yes, diving in to do your thing, get good at it, there has to be a point though, like, and this is honest, real talk, bro, where reputation and your relationship with others can have an effect on your enjoyment of being in the workplace. I mean, there's
Mm,
only so much you can control, right? Your own behaviors. And sometimes you could get painted as a more emotional person. I'm using myself as an example. So when you said like, when you get one dimensionalized, and we talked about
exactly,
that topic,
exactly.
that can actually work in your favor because then your reputation as a hothead may precede you, or you've made decisions in your career, and I certainly have, where you've gone in one direction and the business has gone in another, and suddenly you feel that you're no longer able to show up into the same spaces that you used to. And what I would say to listeners who have gone through that and might be going through that is that it is time to change. It actually is. there's only so much you can do in terms of your own value set and like trying to grind at your mahi before you have to realize you're not going to thrive in an environment where you're not seen, recognized, or supported to do so. And that is the time to leave. That's where I felt I was at that point. It wasn't, I'm painting a pretty bleak picture, but to be honest with you, at that point in time, I'd done everything. I'd kind of done all I
Yeah,
could
yeah.
do.
Props, mate. Props to you too.
Brother, like I had 20 years in the career. And
Yep.
so
Yep.
the decision that I had made over those last 3 years, the change of my name to my middle name, which was a way for me to show up my best, it ultimately put me on that journey. And we came to the very end where it's like, I know this is not the place for me anymore. My story lies elsewhere.
And
And
that's
so
and that's okay.
that's okay, brother.
And
It's scary, but it's okay. And it's the right thing to do.
yeah, and as you and I have talked about before, Ben was still a part of you. It was still just a different side potentially that other people hadn't seen. I mean, it was the
Mm.
middle part. It was the middle part of the man himself that, in an effort to bring attention to the professional side, to a different side, for people to see you differently, to respond to things differently. And man,
It
hats
is
off.
hella weird though, bro. Like, I appreciate you, my brother, but reflecting back on it, it's so weird. Like, imagine one of your best mates, like, I was in amongst, like you said, the top echelons of like influencers and people in Les Mills, and suddenly I'd like change my name to Ben.
Mm.
We already have a Ben at Les Mills, Ben May. Like there's, I can see how people would have seen that as like quite a strange thing for me to do. And you alluded to it just then, bro, in terms of like bringing in another dimension to myself. And you're right. Like, real talk, I couldn't show up as Toe anymore. I didn't feel it. Like Toe's heart was not in it. And I knew I still had a role and an obligation and a responsibility to lead and inspire and do my job, right? So I found the only way I could reconcile it was using Benjamin. That's probably not something I'd recommend for anyone to do. If you're listening and you're like, maybe I need to change, I'm going to use my middle name instead. It's probably not the first thing I would recommend. It certainly was
Tried
the
it.
thing I needed to do. I needed to do it. And
It's
so it
amazing
probably
the
made it
things that
awkward
you
for
do.
friends,
Yeah,
but
yeah. Oh, well,
I had
well,
to do it,
bro,
bro.
from my regard, bro, it was more about supporting you, and that's something you wanted to do or felt you had to go through, and so my viewpoint was that I'll support you and do the best I can in calling you Ben.
You're the man, bro. And so
Yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
people did, shout out. But
Yeah,
like
it's not how
that's
things like that.
yeah.
You're like, how does it affect me? But throwing it back and saying, well, obviously there are some significant changes. All I've got to do is make sure that I'm there for you to check in, to make sure that we can still have conversations and chats, to talk about the things that we really care about, that light us up, concepts, ideas, go through the deep thinking, connect to that part of ourselves that again a lot of people don't see or appreciate, that we get to appreciate, but to just support you in that moment as you were going through an adjustment, a redirection, a
Oh, yeah. I
renaissance of
was going
sorts.
through hell, bro. Let's be honest. I was
Hell
going through
up,
hell.
hell up. But here
But
you are.
that's the thing, like to recognize for someone to do that, don't worry about you don't even have to ask. The actual act of doing so should make you wonder, what must that person be going through for them to make
Mm,
such a change?
mm,
And that's all I say about that is like, I needed to do something that was very drastic for me to show up my best. And Brett Sutton, on my last day, sat with him and told him the reason why. And I said, look, over the last couple of years, I've been using Ben so I could bring my full self. It was a way for me to show up post the COVID 2020 year that it was. And he was like, bro, I'm really proud of you for doing that.
he's a good
And
dude,
I
man.
was like, he's a good dude, man. He saw the reason why. And to be honest with you, in the group fitness team, my dear friend Carla Fitzsimons, and the team with Ish and everything, like I know we did some killer work in those years that I was Ben Ciolo. And hell yeah, bro, I'm proud of that. Like it set up the structure for Les Mills as it's operating now in terms of the New Zealand Aotearoa business, brought in a whole new training development system that came from LMI, implemented that, set up the teams in every region. Gina came in, who's a wonderful person. He's got a heart of gold, like the right person for the right role. Who also came through New Lynn. She's just one of those like golden people that has the heart to lead and inspire. And bro, let's talk about like that last point there. When you leave a place, it's because you've built succession. Like I'm like, dude, I've built succession in every role that I've done.
Mm.
New Lynn, like Tash came through, Gina came through, all the squad came through within combat. Like there's been leaders stepping up. Tavita Siulangpo, who's the club manager for Christchurch, he's come through. I'm like, actually, when I reflect back, bro, there's legacy for days and succession. It is the time to go. Like, you know what I mean? If I stayed, it wouldn't allow those people to grow to their fullest potential.
That is
So
it.
there's a beautiful
Yeah.
story in that.
I mean, we've talked deeply about it before. The legacy is already created about what we're trying to achieve. So you have to. Every role is like a relay race, right? There has to be someone that will take the baton on because you cannot do it forever. It is impossible. And hopefully the things that you instill in people will live on. And I'm sure, and 100% committed that they are. And the systems and processes that you have put in place, the way that you have challenged and inspired everybody is uplifted. It's like the All Black jersey, right? You want to leave it in better shape than when you received it, if you can. And
Hell
that's
yeah, bro.
that's that's a tall order when it comes to following on from some absolute fitness icons. But bro, I think for me, like you're in a period for 3 years, and again the analogy, it's like kind of being underwater. It's just pressure that you feel it and you kind of get used to it, you adapt to it, but you don't realize the pressure you're under until you actually work your way to the surface, break the surface, and you feel that rush of cold air into your lungs, and the freedom that you experience, the liberation. I mean,
Handy.
that might be overselling the moment as an analogy, but how do you feel now, man? Like what is the feeling, the sensation, having gone through the doubt, the name change, the fear, the uncertainty? How do you feel
It's
now?
it's actually a really nice analogy that you're painting, bro, because I feel like a fish out of water. It's the fish that was underwater, living in the environment that it lived in, and suddenly have like broken through the surface, right? And I feel like the evolution, should be spanning a millennia, is or longer, like millions of years, is happening very fast. And what I felt instantly was more time with my family and less pressure and responsibility off my shoulders. People don't know just how like intense the national group fitness manager role is in terms of the hopes and dreams of all the aspiring instructors in New Zealand who want to make it to be a presenter at a workshop or filming. The strategy behind all of the clubs in terms of timetabling, the budgets, the recruitment strategy, all of that. You're responsible for like guiding the clubs to do that. So instantly, bro, I felt a weight off my shoulders. And then in this point in time, I feel like I can, discover, circling right back to the start, rediscover who I can be without the attachment of a massive brand that I was attached to for 20 years. And figure out, now that I'm 40, bro, like what my next journey is going to be. And being at One New Zealand has really opened my eyes to what it's like to work in a corporate environment again. Much larger organization. The way that we work is totally different to what I've experienced before because we're sort of agile light. People who have heard that term before will understand what that means, but essentially work in like 2-week cycles and kind of plan our work for those 2 weeks. And bro, I feel like a new person. The fish out of the water that's grown some wings and starting to fly. Different environment, different challenges, but also exciting to be in a new space. And, that process in of itself makes me proud of the work that I did beforehand. The proud of the work that I had to do to get from one step to the next, because it wasn't easy, bro, and it was a long time, but ultimately I'm so thankful for that, which actually makes me reflect back on the decision way back in 2020 that put me on a different path was the right one. And I'll make that again any day of the week, anytime.
Look, everything we do ultimately is a step. Well, we don't have to know what it's towards, but we need to know that there is progress and there is potential in every one of those steps for us. Fam, like I think no matter what age, no matter what stage you are in your life, it is not too late. Reassess if you need to, if you feel you're like, I mean, if you're
100%.
not around people that don't have that energy, that respect, that care for you, if you're feeling underutilized, if you feel like there is more for you, trust your gut. You just got to go for it. Do the wins and losses, do the ticks and crosses. Write down for us, fam, things that you know are great about you. If you're not sure, ask someone else if you have to, but deep down, the things that people say about you, things you are known for. Or sort of light your own fire, kick your own
Mm.
tires, even for a moment, and realize you're absolutely worth it. Like this is not a permanent space that you're in. Like Toel said, a fish out of water. That's how we started. Imagine all the bros in the water going, "Hey man, you sure you want to get out of the water?"
You sure want to get out there, bro?
Next
It's
minute,
scary. It's
human
dangerous. Yeah.
beings. Next minute, human beings. Like I've skipped a few steps there in evolution. Next minute, human beings, planets, iPhones. If it wasn't for that first fish, I mean, oh yeah, forgive me. It probably didn't quite happen like that.
I like the picture though. I'm
Yeah,
imagining
yeah.
it now.
Boom. But
It's like that Fat Boy Slim video, bro.
yeah,
Right
yeah.
here, right now,
Right here,
right
right
here.
now. And no right here, right now that like we're here for it and we're here for you. Our objective is really just to open up and have these chats, and the direction they go in, certainly we may have a rough idea, but the beauty of it when we start to talk and vibe and flow, all of these thoughts that both of us as deep thinkers sometimes flood through our hearts and souls and minds, they're liberated, they're free, they're out there. And sometimes, the concepts are out there. And what a wonderful feeling that is. Hey, dude, what a wonderful feeling that is just to know
100%,
that
brother.
you can speak your mind, speak your thoughts, or be amongst people or in an environment that welcomes it. So just go for it, fam. Back yourself. We back you 100%. We are here for you 24/7. Um, we're going to wrap episode number 49 of the
49,
D.M.C.
baby.
Coming up. We
Let's
got a
go.
massive 5-0. We've got something epic planned for you. I just want to say, hand on heart, bro, it's so great to kick this journey off with you. I was pumped after the last one, getting into this episode. I just couldn't wait to throw it down. Great to hear your
You're the man, bro.
story. So very proud
So good
of
to be here.
the steps you have taken and the bravery it takes to share. Any sort of final piece of wisdom that you have for our wider whānau?
Final wisdom, team. Like, let's just circle it way back to the start. Self-discovery is ongoing. You're always going to find different facets of yourself that you want to explore and show up as. Trust yourself, trust your gut. You know what's right for you and what's not right for you. Just be brave enough to make that decision and back yourself the whole way.
I love that.
Love you guys.
With that, be kind to yourself first and foremost. Put you in pole position to be kind to everyone and everything. What an epic world that would be. From Toe and myself, thank you so much. We love you. Take care, and we'll see you real soon. Peace.
Yakite. Bye.